And thank you both with the latest on their meeting today. Joining our Closing Bell Exchange on this Friday, we have Chris Zaccarelli from Cornerstone Financial Partners, Jonathan Corpina over at Post 9 of Meridian Equity Partners, and Rich Santelli from the CME in Chicago. So, Jonathan, just beginning with you, what accounts for this rally today?
You know, not one major headline that's out there. And the other side to it, there have been no negative headlines that are out there to really spook this market at this point. In the middle of earnings season, pretty good economic calendar that results that we've seen this week. So there's nothing that's really derailed this rally, but I don't see a large conviction into this. I don't think we feel that a lot of money is flowing into this rally here. Volume really hasn't been supporting it, and investors are still waiting to see how things are going to pan out. We have Ms. Yellen speaking twice on Capitol Hill next week. We have a larger economic calendar next week. We're continuing to earnings season. So there's still a lot that's out there that investors are forced to sit back and wait to see what's going to happen. And clearly any headline that comes out of Washington, we're definitely focusing on that too.
Chris, we've seen good performance today from materials and the industrial sectors. What do you think that's based on? Because clearly there's hope for some infrastructure coming out of the government, but we also got some good data out of China this morning. Is there sort of more of an international lead to this rally late this week?
Well, you know, I think what's happening in the markets is a little bit driven by oil, a little bit driven by what's happening with the political news that's coming out of Washington, as your other guest mentioned. And really the idea here, I think, is that you're going to start to see some more inflation. You're going to start to see some of those pro-growth policies start to move the economy higher. So I think materials are starting to react for all of those reasons.
Meanwhile, Rick Politico today said people in Congress weren't quite sure what the president was talking about with his phenomenal announcement on taxes coming up. You might have thought perhaps that would sink the market a little bit, but instead it's marching higher. So how much of the rally the last couple of days do you think is predicated on his tax comments yesterday, and how much is maybe other forces?
You know, I still say that the rally is more that the pieces in the puzzle box are the right pieces. But they're not on the table, they're not put together, and the final image with all the pieces in it isn't done. But it's a better box of puzzle pieces than we've had a while if you're a pro-business type entity. And I think that's really it. And I do agree with the other guests that negative headlines, to me, are almost a bigger issue. I think the kind of baseline here is half full with regard to better business opportunities ahead. Of course, we have what we call the tape landmines always potentially hitting, and that is something to deal with. You know, I wish one other issue would come up with our talks between the president, of course, and the Japanese leader. Issues like, you know, quantitative easing that includes corporate securities, large buying in stocks. You know, these are all things that should be discussed. And with regard to currency manipulation, you know, after a crisis, this is going to be a hard conversation to have because arguably our rate at 62.5 basis points, that contributes to a certain level of foreign exchange that might not be appropriate because, in my opinion, and many people's opinion, the rates are too low. These are all very complicated discussions, and I think that to look for any quick fixes, especially on the trying to come up with the right look for international foreign exchange levels, not an easy task.
Jonathan, what's your top sector pick from at this level?
I think we have to continue to look at the financial sector. There's so many different initiatives that the president has put out there, and whether it's regulation or whether it's trade, that's going to help the banking sector. I think it's going to help as far as housing prices are concerned, small business loans are concerned, and we've seen the financials rise about 2% over the last month, 14% over the last 3 months. Clearly, it has moved in that right direction. I don't think we've seen the top of that area just yet.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
50 minutes
You
to
too.
go in the session, and the Dow's up 97 points today after yesterday's triple-digit gain. The dollar index a little bit higher. The S&P's up 8.5 points. The transports are rallying another 50 points. The small caps are up 9, and the NASDAQ is up 20.